All right. Well, good morning again, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're just a couple of minutes delayed. I know that a few people in Michigan, my email was not doing a good job of kicking it out, but I see that many of you have joined us now, and we got a few more coming in. So we've actually got some of the highest participation that we've had, and people continue to pour in through the waiting room right now. I think it's because of our guest speaker, Mr. Zack Spaulding. I don't know if we've eclipsed 30 attendees in the last couple of weeks. Even Tony Letcher and his talk, he didn't get to 30. So uh, Zack, I'm excited to have you here. Before we go to Zack, though, I did want to touch on a couple of quick announcements. One of them is I'm going to be pushing this out this morning. I just came off of a TVP call. The Vanilla Soft training that we had scheduled for later this week has been postponed. And I'll tell you the reason behind it, and we'll put it in the email. But ultimately, they have gone through a pilot launch with Daniel Smith's team down in the Florida market. They did this last week. And what they really began to realize is that it was hard to train people on VanillaSoft if they didn't yet have access to the system. And so we have now switched things a little bit, and I'll be sending this out so that all of you know, but we're going to be doing our rollout will actually be our data is going to get moved from our current Agent Connect CRM into VanillaSoft, and that's going to happen on August 17th. And then on August 18th and 19th, we're going to have training first thing in the morning. It's going to be 8 a.m. To 10 a.m. both of those mornings. I don't think you need to be on both of them, but there's going to be opportunities for you to jump on two different mornings, so Monday morning and Tuesday morning. And the reason we're doing it that way is just based on the pilot group. We really want you to have access to your platform and your system so that when we do that initial rollout and that initial training, you can actually go in and get everything set up that needs to be set up on the front end, or there's no real point in doing the training. So it's just a reaction to the pilot program. So I will be getting out the details on that. So there is no VanillaSoft training on the 31st, which we had announced previously. It's going to be switched to August 18th and August 19th, and we'll actually have access to the system at that point as well. So I'll be sending out more details on that. Wanted to make sure you're aware of that. I also wanted to announce that if you are a sub agent or a sponsoring agent, which means you have a sub agent that reports to you, we are going to be moving all of you into what we're calling the sponsor agent channel. And that's actually scheduled to happen on August 6th. So our hope is that it will not disturb your business or your workflow in any way. Several of us, including Laura Dennison, Tony Letcher, and myself, are already in this new channel, sponsoring agent channel. And it does give us some enhanced capabilities just around how we manage our staff, access to better dashboards and reporting, and then access to an agency email account. Like, for example, for my team, we have JessupAgency@healthmarkets.com, which is a kind of a email platform that we can all use, or an inbox and an outbox that we can all use for like client communications and things like that. So, but that's all scheduled to happen on August 6th. I'll be sending out additional notices and information about that as well. I would also encourage all of you, if you are planning to participate in Medicare this fall, and I think all of you know who you are, we need to get the AHIP done ASAP. AHIP is the federal certification that we have to do every year to be able to sell Medicare. And my goal was to have everybody done with it by the end of July, who's going to be selling. Now, quick caveat to that, if you are a new agent, you've never sold Medicare, and this will be your first annual enrollment open enrollment period, I would not recommend that you get involved with Medicare. I really feel to my core that you need to go through one AEP OEP season focusing on the under 65 space, ACA, health insurance, supplemental insurance, life insurance, all of that before you start dabbling in Medicare. Medicare is very complex. There's a lot of additional certifications, a lot of government oversight. There's just a lot more to it. We want everyone to be in Medicare eventually, but highly would recommend that you go through one AEP OEP season without Medicare and then jump in the next year. So, and you won't have to wait an entire year. For those of you who are not yet doing Medicare this fall, we will start training in Q1 of next year. So we're going to go through a training early next year for those of you, and certainly our hope is that you can have a really robust under 65 ACA enrollment season. and get some cash flowing, get some transactions under your belt, so get some clients on the books, so that then you can start, dabbling in other lines of business, including Medicare. So this fall is going to be crazy. I really believe that. The closer we get to it, the crazier I feel like it's going to be. We're going to have a tremendous amount of volatility. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but most every carrier nationwide has actually now announced 15 to 25% rate increases that they filed with the state departments of insurance. And we're going to add that complexity to the reality that we believe the federal government subsidies, the enhanced subsidies, are going to be reduced because they're sunsetting at the end of the year. The way it's looking right now from the current vantage point that we're in, I could see clients whose premiums double or even triple going into next year from a cost perspective. So there's going to be a lot of people shopping, a lot of people looking. I'll also just mention that, I think you need to be very well versed in the creative alternatives to an Affordable Care Act plan. And I would say probably the most robust creative alternative we have, or alternative, would be the Golden Rule Health Protector Guard. In the next week or so, we're going to be rolling out a product with Medical Mutual, which will sit over the top of that scheduled indemnity plan and put a kind of a maximum out of pocket on that product. It'll be sold by a different company, but it's designed to sit over the top of the Health Protector Guard and potentially give, some consumers an option to have kind of a creative alternative to traditional ACA compliant health insurance if they simply can't afford to do that any longer. So start planning now, start getting your book of business together. We're going to be doing some additional trainings here in the next couple of weeks just around what you can start doing to prepare for this. I would say one big thing that you should do, if you haven't already, is you should have a good grasp on who is in your book of business. I think probably the most accurate way to go about doing that is to go out to your carrier portals, your various carrier portals, and you can do that with almost every carrier in our portfolio, where you can pull down your book of business, your active book of business. I would suggest starting to build a spreadsheet that has that book of business in it. We have always structured ours with different tabs for different carriers. Obviously, you need to think about your ACA carriers, and you need to think about your Medicare carriers, and have separate tabs with your active clients on each one. The only one that's difficult for us to access right now is our United Healthcare Medicare book of business, but that is emailed out to you on a monthly basis, in an Excel spreadsheet, so you can pull it from that. So I think that's the most accurate information that you can access. And I would encourage you, if you have not yet done that, building out that book of business and making sure that you understand who your clients actually are, because those are the people that you want to get with first, and make sure that they're taken care of, and they're either actively re-enrolled or staying put, or whatever they're doing. I think you want to start thinking about your communication strategy as well. So through the month of August and September, we need to be communicating with both our under 65 book of business and our Medicare book of business. Health Markets actually has a letter that they are going to make available. You should be getting an email on it today with instructions. They're actually going to pay for you to send out a direct mail piece to all of your clients through Marketing on Demand. It'll be no cost to you if you do it the way they want you to do it, through Marketing on Demand. And there'll be some instructions that'll be coming out in the next 24 hours around that. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to send Marketing on Demand your book of business, who you want this letter to go out to. You don't have to do it, but it is something completely free that Health Markets is making available to you. And you'll need to have that all put together. I think the deadline is around August 6th for that. So you've got maybe a week or 10 days here to kind of work on getting that book of business together. But that would be a really good place to start as you begin to prepare for Q4. A lot more to come on that, but before we pivot off of that topic, are there any other questions or comments around kind of what's coming? Cav, did you have something to say? I saw you on mute.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to that little incident I went through, because last week we talked about it. The reason I got a warning is every time I switched her plan, I did not get a new ACA consent form. So I know that was a question on if you have one, you're good. Not according to Ambetter. Every time you make a move, you have to have a new consent form. And they sent a document stating that. So
There is a clarification email coming out probably today. We just talked about it on our TVP call a couple of moments ago around the ACA consent forms and what needs to happen there. One of the things that legal has agreed to is that once we move to VanillaSoft, As long as you're using VanillaSoft, all of your calls are going to be recorded and tied to that client's profile. And so one of the things that we're going to be able to do is if we have a signed, like if you get an ACA consent form here throughout this, the next couple of months, and then you talk to somebody this fall, you don't have to get a new ACA consent form, but you can actually get it verbally. And so there's going to be some best practices in that email as well. One of the things that I asked about, which the legal is now researching, is that I think about like I've got sub agents that work under my umbrella that may be actively re-enrolling some of my clients, but I want to maintain the agent of record on that. And so just wondering if we can build an ACA consent form that maybe has several people's names on it so that as people are signing off, they're signing off for multiple people to work on that. So Sally Newton said she's going to take that back to legal and we'll hopefully have some feedback on that as well. I would say as you run into additional questions, things that you need clarity on, obviously there's a lot going on with the sponsor agents and the sub agents, VanillaSoft, the ACA consent forms, stuff's being shored up around that. But as you have questions, I'd say send them over to maybe I'll loop Sandra in on this too, but Sandra and myself, so she can kind of help me start to get a list together so that we can then take those back to legal in kind of a batch basis and try to get answers on things, over the next couple of weeks if you do have specific questions about things. So, Sandra?
Yeah, the letter you were referring to in Marketing on Demand, is that just for AEP Medicare? Or is that
No, it's
there are
not.
two versions?
I have not seen the letter yet, so I'm not certain, but
Okay.
more details are coming out via email from Health Markets Communications here very, like I'd say in the next couple of days, if not today. So more clarity coming on that. Any other questions? Kevin, I just want to pivot to you very quickly. I'm calling you out here just like I did Cav a minute ago, but I know that you've done a lot of the Golden Rule RX plans, and you're starting to work through reimbursements on those. And I know I've had a lot of agents asking me questions. We did get some clarity yesterday from Golden Rule that even if a consumer does not pay for like a generic drug, there's still the ability to be reimbursed through that RX reimbursement program. So do you have any other commentary on that or anything else you guys have run into that you can share?
The only other thing is they added something I'd never heard before, and it's not in I haven't seen it on there, is that the only thing they won't reimburse is anything that's labeled as an over-the-counter alternative or something that's available over the counter, but they have a prescription for. So all of the GERD medications, allergy medications that are available over the counter. Anything they can buy in the store without a prescription, even if they have it as a prescription, they will not reimburse that particular drug. But according to them, if it's a regular prescription not available over the counter, even if they pay zero, they'll still get the reimbursement. So that's the latest clarification that we have.
Thank you for running point on that, and thank you for selling a ton of it. So well done. All right, guys. Well, we're going to pivot into the core of today's conversation, and we're continuing our summer speaker series. I have a couple more of these lined up over the next couple of weeks, so I'd encourage you guys stay tuned. I love these summer speaker series sessions that we do because it really gives us the opportunity to highlight agents within the organization, really at all ends of the spectrum. I think sometimes it's great to hear from people who aren't necessarily tier 4 in their practice yet. Especially for those of you that are getting started. So I want to introduce you guys to Mr. Zack Spaulding. I was looking at some numbers, and Zack, it looks like you and I couldn't remember how long it had even been, but I actually looked it up. It looks like you contracted with Health Markets back in August of 2018. And I know you and I have worked very closely together since that time. Thanks for being here with us today, man. I appreciate you taking jumping in and having the conversation. I think I'd like to start off though by maybe just asking you to tell the team about your health market story. How did you get here? Why are you here? How did this all evolve? That we're what seven years into this, and you found I think what was probably going to be a lifelong career for you. But why don't you tell us your story?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, thanks, Silas, for just the opportunity to get up here and talk a little bit, I guess, about what I've been doing. Hopefully, someone gets something good out of it here. But my story. So when I when I met you years ago, I know my mother's one who introduced us. So she works over at Gibson. I never wanted to get into insurance because my mother did it. So it was always in my head of something. Oh no, I don't want to go do what she's doing. That looks too stressful, too much going on there. I was doing maintenance, managing one of the new properties here in town that one of the property management company was doing. I did that for 2 years and that just wasn't going anywhere. Um, wasn't enjoying that. Had 2 summers of plowing snow and was like, you know what, or 2 winters of plowing snow. It's like, you know what, I need to go out and do something that's gonna be good for me and my future and my family. So I'm glad that we got to chat. But my story, I didn't have any. I'm sorry, I cleared my throat. I think I've got like a little bit of a cold or something going on today, so apologies. But um, I didn't have any kind of big start when I came into health markets. I think you know that my first year and everything was a struggle, kind of out the gate to get things going. A lot of that was, kind of confidence on my end, not trusting myself to go and do certain things or know certain things about the business, um, what I was talking about. But I know that second year, I think my first year, I just kind of throw it out. Like I had no idea what I was doing. A second year is I remember sitting down with you, getting coffee one day, and I was like, I don't know, man. And you talked me off the cliff, and I came back just ready to go and grinded away. And I'm still here. I'm glad I didn't look back on that. I'm blessed now that I have a 6-figure salary to work with every year and take care of my family through all the ups and downs and chaos that brings, and it's been awesome.
Well, and I know you've had a lot of things to just navigate through. You've got young children. How old are your kids now?
Yeah, so I've got 4 of them. The oldest are twins. They're gonna be turning 9 here in a couple weeks, and then my son is 7, and my youngest girl, she's 5 years old.
Well, and I know, obviously you had your twins, I think, when you had started, but since then you've
Yeah,
had 2 children and, just navigating life as a dad, trying to figure all of that out. I do remember that we actually met on the Notre Dame campus, I think, at the Notre Dame bookstore and had coffee there. And I remember just asking you, is this what you want to do? And you were pretty definitive that, yes, this is what I want to do. And I said, well, let's go get it then. And since that time, you just continued to build and grow. Um, I'm kind of interested from your perspective, 8 years in now, what makes health markets unique and special to you?
oh man, just the freedom and support that health markets has for all of us, and that really became evident to me going to Celebration this year, and just knowing that everybody, even in corporate, who comes out there is so appreciative of what they do. They want to see us succeed. They want to give us as much resources as they feasibly can. This whole vanilla soft and everything they're trying to roll out is hopefully going to be a game changer. But we wish we could have it sooner, and they're doing all they can to get it out to us. But I don't think there's any other company that would give us the support that we have and the opportunity. Um, just the income opportunity we have is incredible. I think that's what's kind of new agents maybe don't realize. I didn't realize it in my first year, but if you can stick this out, really put your all into it, it's incredible what you can do over that time period.
Well, it's been fun to see you develop, Zach. I mean, I met you and you were, I mean, honestly, a young guy, young kid almost. How old were you when you started?
I'm 26 or 27. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I've just seen you develop, and I think it's been so fun because I'm hearing it now from a lot of your peers around you that you know this business. You've become a student of this business and become an expert. And I know many of our agents, across the territory come to you with questions for things. I know you're on our WhatsApp um, app where you're answering questions there many times, and I'm always thankful for that because honestly, there's times you're answering questions and I didn't know the answer, and somehow you were coming up with it. So,
Yeah.
um,
I,
so
I just want to help. So,
well,
and I know too myself, I was struggling that first year and feel like I didn't know anything. I really hit trying to figure out the ins and outs of a lot of stuff because I got tired of getting blindsided with the questions and then sales fall through because you don't sound like you know what you're doing because I didn't. Um,
Yep.
so if you know the answers, people trust you more, and you're a student of your business at the end of the day. I mean, you're not going to get anywhere if you're not a student of what we're doing either.
Right, exactly. And you do find some great articles that you post too. So if you guys aren't watching Zach's social, you come up with some articles. I'm like, oh, that was a really good article that you piggybacked on. So going back to the early days, Zach, I know that first year was a struggle for you. But as you began to get some traction and things began to roll, what were some of the most like granular activities that you engaged in early on that you felt like, helped you to grow in the business?
Yeah, well, the biggest game changer for me was the live transfers that rolled out because I was doing the cheap internet leads at that time. I think we can get them for like less than $1. They were awful. You were lucky to convert 1 in 100, which is still the same today. and they just burn you out after a while. But as soon as those live transfers came on, that was a huge game changer. And two, I that was when I was in an office next to Matt Tallman as well,
Mhm.
and I was watching him when it rolled out. He embraced it and was absolutely crushing it. I think like that first AEP we had, it did like 75 to 100 enrollments through live transfers alone.
Yeah.
So I saw that. I was like, all right, I need to completely embrace whatever's going on here because this seems to be the path of least resistance for a new agent to get business through the door. It's somebody calling your phone, and the inbound inquiries. I do those too. So taking those makes it super easy. Where that's half the price of a live transfer, and it's just as hot because it's somebody who called in, didn't get an agent, and wants to speak to somebody right now.
Right. Yeah, and I did see you work those. I mean, I think leads in the beginning, you'll hear me say it again and again. That's the birch for the fire, and then you start working through your marketing game plan, kind of the oak
Yeah.
for the burn. So, did you at what point did you start transitioning into local marketing and doing things like that?
So I don't really feel like I ever made a transition. I just kind of kept doing the same thing. Like I still take the live transfers. I kind of fell away from it a little bit with last AP because that was the first AP I think I ran almost purely on referrals. Um, so I've tried to get back into it here the last couple months of reintegrating the live transfers and leads in because it's still a big portion of what I do. But the local marketing has mainly been just referrals from clients and then some referral partners. I have a couple of financial planners that like to refer over to me and some PNC agents. So that's been a big help there too. Um, I'd be the first to admit I don't do a whole lot of local marketing really. Have an ad in some church bulletins that I do, and I put out the Reminder Media magazines, and I don't do a whole lot else on top of that. But that
What's your
seems to be enough.
media? I don't know if we've talked about that. I know what it is, but would you tell the group maybe what that reminder media is all about?
Yeah, those are the magazines that go out. I think Kevin McIntyre is the one who turned us on to that originally, and those go out every couple of months. And they're a really nice kind of reminder to your clients of, hey, you worked with me. Here's something that I've given to you for no cost. That's kind of a thank you for working with me and getting your business. And that thing last year was a huge driver of referrals. That's why I didn't need to take leads through an AEP, is people were telling me, oh, I got your magazine and I remembered I needed to go tell my friend to call you. And so that was pretty cool that that worked out that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for the last number of years you've been engaged in storefronts and you've been in two different storefronts. I know you worked in our South Bend storefront on the south side of town with Dan Blackator and Tallman and Andy Dampier for a few years. And then, I don't know, was it a year ago, year and a half ago, then you decided to transition up to the north side, Mishawaka, and join Tony and Derek's office up there. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm just curious, like how has, being a part of a storefront impacted you? Obviously, I think one of the things I would say is you've had the opportunity to work next to some of the best agents on our team, with the South Bend and then the Mishawaka storefront. Anything you want to share about, what that's done for you?
Yeah, it's absolutely invaluable to work at a storefront because if you're sitting at home, if you have questions, you're not going to get them answered. I mean, you can use the WhatsApp and you can get them, but nothing beats sitting in an office with three or four other agents that you can go knock on their door and say, "Hey, man, I'm having this issue," or "I've got a client I'm on the phone with," or someone sitting in your office and you're saying, "Hey, I'm wondering about this benefit here. I don't understand. Can you help me out?" Because that's a huge help just to have that resource. Everybody in this agency wants to help each other. So if you can be in a storefront and take advantage of that and it can motivate you too. It's always kind of competitive when you're working around somebody and trying to catch them. I
Yeah.
know right now, my kind of motivation. I'm watching Tony's son Sam crush it right now, and we kind of check in whenever he's in and say, "All right, how much in subs did you do today?" And I'm like, "Gosh darn it, that kid's crushing. He's beating me right now. I need to go work harder." So it's fun. Everybody gets motivated. You're going to do more business, and it's going to be more fun when you're in a storefront.
Well, and I think the storefront that you're a part of up there, obviously, it is our biggest storefront and growing. Both Tony Letcher and Derek Mabry have offices there. You're obviously there. A lot of Derek's team, a lot of Tony's staff. We're in the process of expanding that and almost doubling the size of it with the lower level.
Yeah,
And I'll a shameless plug here. We're looking for people to fill that space as well. So if you're an agent in the greater Mishawaka area and you would like to join an office, I think I actually took a new agent up there a couple of months ago, and we were just kind of touring some of the offices, and we walked in there. You guys didn't even know we were showing up, and we walked in, kind of walked around, introduced everybody, and when we left, one of the things that she said, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you can just like feel the energy in that office." And I do think you guys do have not something uniquely different, but something special up there. And I think many of our offices are that way, where there's a buzz, there's activity, there's things going on. So I'd encourage you, if you're a new agent and you have the opportunity to plug into that, you absolutely should. I mean, I'd say 3, 4, 5 days a week if there's a storefront opportunity close for you. Not all of you are close to a storefront where that makes sense, or there's even space available, but some of you are. I would encourage you. This can be a very, very lonely business if you're just working from your home office by yourself day in and day out every single day. So getting around other people can, really help with that. So do you have anything else about that office that you'd like to share in hopes that we can get some more agents in there?
We got a lot of space down there. So, and there's only, I think, me and Chester and maybe Sam are going down there. So there's a lot of open office space here we need filled.
Yeah. So feel free to reach out to myself or Tony or Derek if you guys have an interest in that, or if you're in the area. So today, 8 years into your business, where are most of your leads actually coming from? Are they mostly incoming leads? Are they mostly referrals? Is it a combination? Where do you see that today?
Yeah, it's a combination. It's pretty 50-50 of leads that are coming from, our health markets leads, and then there's 50% referrals.
Yeah.
Kind of, I have a plan to offset that in a way that is going to mainly be live transfers again, because I have a pretty aggressive goal I have set for myself coming up here for the next few months. But right now, that's kind of what it's been for this year. It's half and half.
You didn't know I was going to ask you this question, but like pivoting towards that, I'm just curious, like what's spinning in your mind around the rest of this year? Maybe a little bit about what you're planning to do or going to try to do, and then how you're, planning to deal with the volatility. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share around that?
Yeah. So as it goes for the volatility, my plan is trying to be as efficient as I can with it, because I know I'm gonna have to talk to dang near everybody, and that's hundreds of people. For the new guys, I almost envy you because you don't have that problem yet. You get to go out there and absolutely crush this volatility. There's gonna be so much opportunity. Um, but for us veteran agents, yeah, we're gonna be spending a lot of our time spinning our wheels trying to get to people. My big plan is I want to do the Medicare workshops. I'm gonna start doing that. I haven't totally locked down where I'm gonna do it yet, but I want to knock out the big carriers, the Aetna, Humana, United Healthcare, in those, and maybe even roll Devoted into it. And then I can kind of touch on everybody else virtually or over the phone for other carriers, because most of those people for other carriers are, I've done that or over the phone anyway, or through Zoom. But if I can knock out a third of those folks just in those Medicare workshops, that's going to be a huge weight off of my shoulders to get more business done. And then for the ACA, I'm really hoping, because a lot of my clients, I can talk to them in 10 or 15 minutes and get it done. I'm really hoping I can get a letter out to them that says to go in, schedule a 15-minute appointment, update me of your income in there, and then I can go and plug in the information that I have for you here already and come in with, all right, it looks like if nothing's changed, we're going to need to move you over to this carrier. This is what it's going to cost. And if I have to make any alternatives and get creative here, I can show them that then too. But that's going to be, I think the ACA is going to be the one that's going to be the most chaotic part. Is there's a lot when it comes to the income. I don't think people understand how big of a difference that's going to make, especially if you're 55 and older. You're going to get hosed in this, what's coming down the pipeline.
Yep. And when you say hosed, you're just talking about premiums increasing significantly, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because right now, I have a lot of folks that are 55 and older, and they're making over $100,000 a year and getting a huge tax credit, and that's about to go away entirely if they go back to how it was before the enhanced tax credits were on the book.
Right. And I'll say a lot of this is to be determined. I think today we have to operate as if those enhanced subsidies are going away. But Trump is notorious for keeping everybody on their toes, right? I think that's part of how he negotiates deals. And so I think there's a potential that even getting into the fourth quarter, October, November, there could be some last minute things that happen that maybe, kick that can down the road or keep those enhanced subsidies in place. There are things that could happen. So I think we just got to kind of keep our, keep our ear on the track and try to sense what's coming, but be prepared no matter which way it goes. Which I go back to constantly, and I know some of you are brainwashed in this because you've heard it enough from me, but chaos and volatility does create opportunity. And I say brainwashed in a good way because I think so many people look at chaos and volatility as such a negative thing. I'm literally at a point in my life and my career where I realize that's where we have our biggest opportunities is when that type of craziness actually happens. And the good news is we've got, at least in the under 65 space, up until January 15th to get a lot of this resolved. So I want to ask you about something too that might be a little bit of I would say maybe a little fresh and a little bit of a raw topic for you. I know you recently had brought someone on to work with you, and then kind of came to the conclusion that maybe that wasn't the best fit or the best move. I think it's very commendable that you took that leap and really tried to bring someone in to help you, and also realized at a certain point that maybe this particular partnership wasn't meant to happen, not in a bad way, just and kind of parted ways with the individual that you brought in. I'll tell you, I look back and I think I've hired 17 people over the course of my health markets career. And, we currently have 5 that are a part of my team. So, not everybody works out the way you would like them to. Not everybody is meant to be with you forever. Sometimes people work with you for a season, and that's okay as well. But I just wondered, for those people who are thinking about that, you've started to step into that a little bit and maybe had a little bit of a false start. But I'm curious, just do you have anything to share with anybody about that experience, about what went into that and kind of where you're at today with that?
Yeah, no, it was really good. That was really, I mean, I've had a couple assistants that I've kind of shared with Tolman and Andy in the past and stuff. And so a little experience with kind of going with that. And it worked out really good. I actually hired him about this time last year, and that really freed me up in the AEP to go and get business, get things done, not worry about the back end stuff, setting appointments, following up on customer service and things like that. So that was allowed me to be as efficient as possible, and I credit that with getting me to tier 3 because then I wasn't worried about I've got 5 calls I need to call back here before the end of the day or this or that or the other thing. I had somebody else to handle it, which was awesome. The only reason I really let him go is this: I wanted him to be a sub agent because I knew what he wanted to do with his goals, and selling just was becoming a struggle for him. But he ended up landing on his feet somewhere else. I think it was Horton is where he ended up, but making 3 times as much as I could ever pay him or so. So I'm really happy for him. So it's kind of bittersweet. I had to let him go, but he landed in a place I think that's going to be better. That God works in strange ways that way. I kind of assumed he'd land on his feet anyway, but he's doing good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think that is part of it. And I want to encourage all of you, like, the first person that you hire probably will not be the person that sticks with you forever, right? I mean, I think about all the starts and stops that I had early on when I decided that I needed to make that move and start bringing somebody else in. And even as it has gone on, many of you know Christy. Christy worked with me for 12 years and, decided to go a different direction with her career in December. And while there was some difficulty in that, I also, hindsight looking back, say, things happen for a season many times in life, and that's okay too. Not everything is meant to be a permanent, situation. So I don't think that should deter us though from, thinking about what it looks like to continue to grow our practice. And if we're growing our practice, bringing in additional staff members to help and finding the right people and getting the right people into the right seats is, I think a really important thing and healthy thing to work through. And sometimes you don't know until you get in the trenches next to somebody whether it's actually going to be a good fit or work out either.
Yeah,
So there's certainly a leap of faith that has to happen there.
I'd add there too, Si, that if you're somebody who's worried, thinking about it, especially if it's the financial aspect of like, if I hire somebody, how am I going to pay him? What's going to happen here? I can attest from how much more efficient I was. Paying him wasn't an issue after a couple months of having him, because the ability for me to be able to go out and sell more made up for that. So if you're on the fence and you're sitting there thinking, man, I'd really like to hire someone. I'm overwhelmed with this. I need to offload this so I can be more efficient at selling or going out and finding more business. Take that leap. If it doesn't work out, you learn from it. You get to go and take that knowledge and apply it later on, but take that leap and go give it a shot.
Well, I know last year, or over the course of the last year too, you really kind of kicked into overdrive, and you'd been a very steady tier two agent, and then you kind of kicked it into overdrive. And I know part of it was having maybe somebody else help you, but I'm sure there are other factors that contributed to that too. Do you have any other thoughts or maybe some context around what other factors allowed you over the last, 12 months to really accelerate and get to this tier three and maintain this tier three status now?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it was I made it a thing to bring up supplemental products with everybody. So I was always doing it, but I was never as upfront about, why is this important? Why should you be doing this? I'd run through the presentation and I wouldn't, I have enough stories now to tell of people who have taken it, people who haven't, family members that passed on it and now wish they would have, picked up on that cancer plan or things like that. Um, and so after experiencing enough of those with my own family, I go up to people and I say, here, I'm going to tell you about this. Um, I'm going to tell you about this cancer plan. I'm going to tell you about this accident plan. I'm going to tell you about this health protector guard because I love to sell that health protector guard 4000 plan as a wraparound on the ACA. Um, because at the end of the day, people need that hospital coverage. People don't know what's out there. No one else is going to tell them about these products. I can tell you from all the live transfers I've taken, zero have ever said somebody's spoken to me about a cancer plan, somebody told me about an accident plan or anything. We're the only people out there doing this. And if we don't do it, no one else is going to. We owe it to our clients to bring this stuff up. So that was embracing that ideology for me really helped me, especially in the fourth quarter, to get stuff done because I was meeting with all my Medicare clients and showing them the Advantage Guard product. I was showing them the new Critical Guard product, and that Health Protector Guard I showed to everybody. I sold a lot of those just with people on the ACA, telling them, hey, this is something that you've got all those extra benefits in there. The old one had it where you had prescription coverage and everything too, but the big thing is the new one has the hospital coverage and the doctor's visits where they're going to cover that. So I tell people, here's your chance at a PPO. We don't have PPOs in Indiana. We don't have PPOs most anywhere in the country. But if anything changes, if your doctor ever falls out of your network, which I'm having happen now in Illinois with Health Alliance, I'm getting a lot of my clients calling me out there. All of them had this health protector guard that I sold them on, and they don't have to worry about it. And a guy called me yesterday about it, and I said, "Dude, you don't have to worry. Look at I got you that protector guard. You have that PPO option now, basically, to go out and see that doctor still, and you can have the prescriptions run through your major medical insurance, so it's no big deal." And he was so relieved to find out, oh, I don't have to pay $350 to go see my doctor. I've got this United Healthcare plan to help me out. So taking
That's a
all our
really
products are great.
interesting. That's a really interesting angle on it that honestly I don't think we've accentuated or talked about or trained a whole lot. So you're in many situations going with, I presume, a high deductible, low cost bronze plan as kind of the base medical, and then you're using the United Healthcare Golden Rule Health Protector Guard to kind of come in and cover everything up to their out-of-pocket maximums, or at least help offset those costs, huh?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm doing. Like for example, I do the Ambetter Everyday Bronze with a lot of them because they're getting the copay for the doctors on there. Plus, they're going to get the benefit amount from the health protector guard. So in a lot of cases, people are going and spending nothing or they're getting paid to go see their doctors. And then they've got all the bonuses for the surgical and the hospital on there on top of it. So everybody I've sold it has used it, absolutely loves it because they're not paying anything or they're getting paid to go to their doctor. And I know that if they end up in the hospital or need to have a surgery, that they're covered better than any other product I can give them.
That's really great. Cav, we need to think through that as we do additional training, like moving forward on what that really looks like. You on it? All right. Perfect. The other thing that I think about that health protector guard, and you mentioned this, and I don't know if everybody caught it, but when you're on that health protector guard for the little things like doctor's visits and things like that, you have access to the nationwide United Healthcare Choice Plus PPO network, right? So it's a really broad network. So even if their doctor is not in network on the ACA medical insurance, the Protector Guard gives them coverage on that. And the cool thing about that is that they tap into the negotiated network discount, so it reduces the cost. And then if there's any cost that's not covered, it's actually paid to the consumer, like the balance on that. So I can understand what you're saying with how your clients are actually profiting from some of the small things. And when they use something small like that and they profit from it or they get paid on it, I'm sure that drives referrals and obviously pretty intense customer satisfaction on the back end of a claim too.
Oh yeah, I've got one gal who's told everybody she knows about it. So I've had a bunch of meetings with folks who even just have plans through their employer who wanted to look at it and see what is this plan that Missy's telling me all about that I need to go and talk to you about. So it's been good.
Hey, Zach, this is Steve. Is it the Health Protector Guard or just the Guard plan that you're showing?
The 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 Health Protector Guard, whatever, that
The
4,000,
Guard,
the cheapest one.
it's not the expanded one. It's the Guard plan. Okay. Yep.
Right, yeah. It's basically just hospital, doctor's visits, and surgical. There's not a whole lot else to it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on it.
Cool. And I think the other thing that I have questions, and maybe you can answer this, Zach, is how does that work? So let's say they have a copay on their AM Better plan and they have coverage here. Do they run it through both?
Yeah, so they'll have a card and they'll show both cards, so it's a true secondary that they can show to their doctor. I've had some issues of doctors understanding and running them, but yeah, they show both cards, both will get run through insurance. They'll pay their copay and then they'll get the check from United Healthcare on the back end.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I talked to Dan Biscardin about this because he does it a lot. And with the ACA, David Maxwell told him run everything through your ACA plan, and then you can submit a claim form for the golden rule and get reimbursed. So, because again, it does create some issues with discounts and stuff like that. So the easiest way is just run it through your major medical, get those discounts, and then submit a claim form and get reimbursed. That's how he's been selling it out there, and he's pretty good at it.
And then, like you're talking about with clients in Illinois where their doctor went out of network, now you just don't run it through the ACA because it wouldn't be covered anyway. It's out of network, and you run everything through the GRIC product, get the negotiated network discount, and get the coverage, right?
Correct.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty slick, dude. We should really do some intense training on that cab as we go into the ACA this fall. So that's great, and maybe bring Zach in to help us with it. So what other supplemental products are you selling? That's great. That was great. Little rabbit hole there. But what other products are you focused on?
And the Advantage Guard is the other big one when it comes to the Medicare. I do that probably the most, and then the Critical Guard right after that. Sometimes the accident. I have a lot of people where like the live transfers, and I'll run through stuff for them. I'm starting to do more of the hospital-wise on those because I'll try to say knock out half of their deductible or whatever it is with it, just something that's affordable for somebody. Because we can do 10,000 guaranteed issue, but that's over $100 in most cases to get that. Or I can do 4,000 and knock out half of their deductible, and that costs $30 a month. So I've had a little bit of success of kind of doing that way, and even doing the surgical rider on it. But those are, those are all the plans I'm basically doing: accident wise, hospital wise, Advantage Guard, Critical Guard, that Health Protector Guard.
So I know at this point, 8 years into your career, you do have some stories. Is there one specific claim story that kind of like, I don't know, always rises to the top of your mind, or one that you share with clients, or one where you felt like, the supplemental products really, really had an impact for a client that you were serving that you'd be willing to share with us?
I have two, one that's a critical illness and one that's an accident. So for the
Tell us.
accident one, I had a gal who was out of Detroit, and it's the middle of winter, and she's going to work, slips down the steps on her front steps, and ends up not knowing it at the time. She somehow gritted through the pain and went to work, but she ended up shattering her hip and tearing a bunch of ligaments in her knee. And so she ended up calling me, freaking out. She's like, I just had to go to the ER. I'm all banged up. I can't go back to work for a few weeks. I don't know what to do. I have a $9,000 deductible. And she had completely forgotten that she had purchased an accident expense. And so it worked out in a way that, since it happened in December, so she had to have two surgeries. She had one surgery in December, and they covered that. She paid her $250 deductible, and that was it, which was awesome. And then she had a follow-up surgery in late January, and that accident expense resets on the calendar year. So she got that, all of her deductible and everything paid up for that year right there in January through that accident plan too. So she ended up hardly spending anything at the end of the day, $500 for that accident, all things said and done, with two surgeries, which is pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
And then I have a critical illness one that I keep close on my mind, because this is me not I'm terrible at showing life insurance. This is an example of why I need to show it. Of a longtime client of mine, gave me a call that her husband had just gotten diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And luckily we went back and forth about it 6 months prior. She was thinking about canceling her Aetna cancer plan. And we sat down and I managed to tell her, I was like, if you ever get a diagnosis, what are you going to do to pay those bills? And she said, all right, I'll keep paying it. We'll revisit it next year. Well, she ended up, her husband got a diagnosis of, I can't remember if it was lung cancer or whatever there, but 2 weeks later, he passed away. And so she's absolutely distraught, doesn't know what to do, didn't have a life insurance policy. I said, you've got the 10,000, 15,000. I don't remember how much it was off the top of my head here, but cancer plan there. I said, that's not, it's not what you were hoping for, but there you go. It almost acts like a final expense for you here in a way that it worked out that you'll be able to cover burial, because she called me absolutely distraught. Like, how am I going to get a funeral for my husband? And that cancer plan did it, even though I'm the dummy who didn't show her the life insurance beforehand, and I should have. But that's one where it worked out great for my client and reminds me that I need to do a better job on my end to take care of my clients fully, not just halfway.
I totally agree. We are so missing the boat collectively on life insurance. It's a very, very real need. Clients are buying this all the time. It's our highest commission product. And yet many of us, myself included, are not promoting it and talking about it like we should. So I think that's a good reminder for all of us. And honestly, a lot of it just goes back to like weaving it into your fact finding. And I think, it's kind of interesting. I don't want to give Tony Letcher too much credit. I don't know if he's on the call or not, but he was the one that I think a little over a year ago we started talking about what we're going to do, to boost our supplemental sales, and he just kept pounding, just show it, just show it, just show it, just show it. And I feel like, I don't know if you got caught up in that wave of just show it at that point, but that's, from my perspective anyway, just what you started doing is you started just showing products and telling them where their gaps and holes are. And, I think for those of you that are new, the verbiage you can use there is, it's my job. You're asking me as an agent for my expert advice. My job is to show you where your gaps and holes are, and then make recommendations around products that can fill those gaps and holes. And then you decide what you're going to do with that information. And I think that can be very, very effective. You don't have to be a hardcore salesperson. I would not put you in the category of a high-pressured salesperson, Zach. Yeah, you've been able to build a pretty incredible career.
It's funny you say that, because I got a complaint like a month or two ago that said I used high pressure tactics. So it was kind of funny. Obviously not true, and it was easily put away, but
Yeah, exactly. That's yeah, I can't imagine you ever being high pressure in any situation. So, and I think that's
it was somebody, it was like a cab situation where they don't even know they filed a complaint. So it,
right.
one of those goofy things.
Yeah, and those goofy things, really do happen. So, um, is there anything else that you're doing to drive your supplemental sales at this point, other than just show it?
Yeah, big thing is just show it. Know why you're showing it, because I think we can, you know, just showing it is the first step. People don't know what's out there. Sometimes they'll sell it to themselves. Like, I've had times where I'll just show someone an accident plan. I'll be like, you can take this if you want. And they're like, oh, absolutely, I want it. They see the value in it more than I do. But I think knowing why that product is important. That's why I do a lot of that Health Protector Guard. And at first I didn't think anybody would do it, but my motto was just show it. And I mentioned my client Missy, she actually upsold herself on it and got one of the more she ended up getting the Works 3, the old one that we had, because she wanted to have the maximum reimbursement on her doctors and all that other stuff for mammograms and whatnot. Just because I showed the product, I went through it and just showed her, here's how all these work, here's the one I'm showing you. She's like, well, I want that one.
I'll tell you, this is like ninja level sales stuff when you put your clients in a situation that they upsell themselves,
I
right?
know, right? I was sitting there like, really, that's what you want to do? I'm like, absolutely, whatever you want. That sounds awesome. Like, you see the value in it. That's great. I did something
That-
right.
That's really great. And I know, even though you may have had that complaint you dealt with, you are not someone who has high complaints across the board. So is there anything special or unique that you're doing from a post-sale follow-up process, or, once you get a client, like what do you do to keep them on the books?
You want me to share my screen? I can show you my kind of post-sale checklist.
Sure. Bear with me just a second. Let me allow you to do that. Go ahead.
Cool. Let's see here.
He's also a young guy, so he's pretty tech savvy. So he embraces technology, right?
I try to. I hope you can see my screen here.
Yeah, we can.
Yep. So this is my
You able
post-sale
to zoom in
checklist.
a little bit? The top right hand or left hand corner there, it says 100% on one of your drop downs. You can go to like 120 or um,
Let me see. Okay, there we go.
there you go. I know
It's
Sandra asked me.
152. There we go. 150 is not too bad.
There we
That
go.
kind of gets the core of what I have here. So
Thank you,
this
Zach.
this is what I do. Every time I finish a sale, I immediately grab this checklist, I put their name on it and the date. And then I have kind of my reminders here of what I need to get done. So I immediately then fill out a thank you card, put the date that I filled it on, stamp it, put it on a desk to be put out in the mail later that day. I send another card to them a week later. And this one, I don't necessarily ask for referrals in the thank you card that I send. I do it in the letter. And this is something I ripped off of the Resource Center. There's a Medicare thank you letter that you can do. And I kind of just copy pasted and took Medicare plan out and put a health plan for health plan on it in a way for what I do for my health people.
Mhm.
But so I send that out as well a week later. And then I have my 30-day checkup. I'll admit I'm terrible at the 60 and 90. I still haven't worked that into a process, but I know that within a month or even like a month and a half, someone's getting the touch point from me 3 times after they've had a sale with me. And so that really helps me in my retention, I think. I saw what fell off last year. I think I only had like 1,600 FYCRs, and it's because I started doing this checklist. And the big thing too is when I send this thank you letter, I have a another form I send with them that lists out all of the policies that they purchased, how much it cost, and what their policy numbers are, so that they can use it to get onto the member hub. And so they're seeing that. If it's an ACA plan, I'll send them the summary of benefits with it too. And they're getting enough information that they know what they have. No one's questioning it. If I call them on their 30 days, the only thing that they have questions about usually is, I didn't get my card. How do I get my card? It's still waiting in the mail or maybe didn't come through. But that's kind of this is what I do in my post sale. Those things, I have my reminders to put the ACA consent form or the SOA in the CRM. If there's marketplace documents required, I make a note of it here and put the date when I complete it. If they were a referral, I'll put that person's name down and send them a letter. So this is my big reminder. Otherwise, I won't do any of that stuff, and then it fall through the cracks and it never get done.
Perfect. Yeah, I think it's good to have processes. I mean, I think building out systems and processes are really important. So that's really great. So two last questions. My second to last question is there anything that you're changing this year about your practice or doing differently, like as we move through the latter half of the year?
Yeah, well, I'm back to a one-man show for a little bit here. I don't know how long that'll last, but so I'm having to kind of think about what am I going to do for AEP, OEP going and navigating that again. So I haven't quite figured out what changes I'm going to make that way. I know one thing I'm doing now until October is I really want to leverage the live transfers more. I've seen, going to celebrations, seeing what those people have said about it. The sales leader you had from Detroit that was at the meeting a couple weeks
Zoe?
ago.
Right.
Yeah, him talking about his agent doing that is something that I've thought about doing myself, and seeing that, yep, there's a guy who's making it happen, who's doing 10 plus sales every single week and not having an issue at all about it. Yeah, I kind of want to get to that point with fitting the time in with live transfers to make sure that I'm maximizing the time I'm using. Because if I'm just sitting here, even if I'm doing, carrier certifications, I can have my live transfers on and answer those and jump out of doing a carrier cert to get that done and things too. So I'm kind of focused on how can I be more efficient? How can I get in front of more people and leverage those live transfers in a way that I haven't yet before?
Yeah, that's a good answer. The last question I have is you've now been around 8 years. You've seen a lot of new agents in the business. You've helped train and mentor a lot of new agents and just by being who you are. What would be, the best advice you would have for a new agent who's maybe either just getting started or struggling to, get the traction they need to really make this their career? Any thoughts there?
Well, I'm gonna say like Ray always says, like, you can always start today or tomorrow, whatever it is there. So whatever, if you're sitting here as a new agent thinking, I've struggled with this or that, cool. Don't worry about it. That's in the past. You have right now that you can start doing all the things that you need to do to get it done. Whether that's if you're a new agent, decide what is your business. Like for me, I've never been a walk and talk guy. It just never worked out well for me. But I love taking the live transfers. I love the fact that I can have somebody call my phone and I can talk to them and figure out within seconds if am I going to be able to help this person or not. So if that's something you want to do, make a plan to say, I'm going to have my live transfers on all day from whether that's 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night. If it's just part of the day, and then just say, I'm going to do it from 9 to 2, whatever it is, make that promise to yourself, write it down, and hold yourself to it every day. And you'll see a huge difference a month or two from now in the production that you're doing.
Yep. Agreed. Well, do you have any final thoughts as we wrap up? This has been great, man. I appreciate, and we've ad-libbed a little bit. I gave you some questions we'd work our way through, but we went down some different rabbit holes. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the team?
No, I don't have anything on the top of my head. So just thanks for the opportunity to get here and converse with you and kind of share some things today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I encourage all of you. I know Zach's an open book. If you guys ever want to take him out for lunch, buy him a coffee, sit down and talk to him, have a conversation. He really knows this business and has become one of the subject matter experts, I would say, on the team. Sandra?
How many states are you licensed in, Zach, right now?
I have to check. Too many.
Too many.
Because for the AEP, I've got like as I've gotten referrals in for other states, I add them. So I think I have like 15 to 20 right now. I'd have to go and check what that exact number is. But I have a plan of this OEP for the ACA of actually figuring out who do I need to appoint within those states so I can sell the ACA in those two, because Medicare has been a big part of what I'm doing, but I'm starting to do more ACA than I used to. So, and that's a big opportunity, and it's just going to get bigger with all this volatility.
Yep, 100% agreed. Before we wrap things up, does anybody have a question for Zach? Anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to ask him?
I'll talk to you about your golf game later.
All right.
Well, Zach, thanks again for being here. We really appreciate it. Appreciate your time today. Thank you to everybody else for jumping on. I'd continue to encourage you, let's plug in, engage, read your emails. That's one of the big things I'd say. Some of you don't read your emails like you should. A lot of information that's going to be coming down the pike is going to be communicated via email. Reach out with questions. Obviously, Sandra, Rachel, your sales leaders, myself, we're all here to help. Cav, there's a lot of support around you. So I'd encourage you, if you're new, you don't want to get 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road and look back and realize that you missed an opportunity. I feel that this is truly a tremendous opportunity. I love it that people like Zach and others have come into this business and just figured out how to really, really build something special. And you guys can all do that too, but you got to buckle down and go to work. Work works, right? So I hope you all have a great week. Thanks for being here. We'll reconvene next Tuesday. We'll continue our summer speaker series, and I'll have a new guest available for us next week. So take care, everybody. Have a good Tuesday. See ya.